All right. Well, hello everyone. Appreciate you jumping on the call today. Hopefully you didn't have any trouble jumping on and are able to get in here, see the screen, and actually participate today. So definitely excited to have you here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar today. This is going to be a little bit different of a webinar in the fact that I'm not going to do any sort of PowerPoint presentation or anything crazy like that. This is going to be a kind of a screen share deal. I'm going to open up some windows. I'm going to do some moving around, some Google searching, things of that sort, and really want to make sure that you are able to see all the different tools that we use at Red Canoe Media when it comes to promoting our own site, and some different things that maybe you could do on your end as well to help your business grow a little bit. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this screen down so I can see my notes, and we're going to jump in. So couple different things. If you do have any questions, feel free to type those into the question or chat box area, and I will do my best to get any of those answered as they come across. And at the end of the presentation, I want to give you an opportunity to get over 100 how-to videos for over 60% off as kind of a thank you for jumping on today's webinar. So pretty excited about this one, and it's going to be fairly in depth. So you will get a replay of this, so you don't have to necessarily try to keep up with all the notes and scribble everything down. You'll get a replay once we're able to process the video and get that back out to you so that you can go back and kind of review some of these things. So let's jump in. The first thing I wanted to talk about is content on your own website. So if you know me at all, you know that or any digital marketing type person, one of the things that we're always talking about is building content. The more content that you have, the more quality content that you have, the more visitors you're going to get to your site, the more traffic you'll have, the more interaction you'll get. All really good things. So writing content for the average business owner isn't necessarily the most exciting thing to do. And in many cases, hopefully you're busy enough that, it's probably not the best use of your time. Now, what I want to show you first is a couple places to find some different writers that can write content for you if you're unable to do so. I will preface this to say that the best scenario really is the business owner writing content, because you're in the industry every day. You're doing things, you're interacting with people, you're building relationships. You hear the questions, you know what's going on. All of those things you're already aware of. So you could build some really good content just because of all the knowledge you have in your area. However, if that really isn't the case, what you can do is find some writers that are maybe in your area or industry that have some extra time, want to do some writing, and then you can get those pieces of content. Obviously you'll have to pay for them, but then you can just edit those to your liking and publish them. So it kind of gives you a good 60-70% foundation where you can get in there and just add your little extra flair, your little bit of knowledge in there, and really add to the overall content, but it saves you a ton of time. So one of the places I like to find people, believe it or not, is Craigslist. And I'm going to pull up the St. Louis version here, but I'm sure there's a Craigslist in your area. But one of the really cool things about Craigslist is there's typically a section on Craigslist where people are looking specifically for writing opportunities. So right here under jobs, I can see that there is a writing / editing. And what I can do is I can just put out here, you can see all these other people looking for writers. So put out there that I'm willing to spend this amount of money. I'm looking for a good writer. The way that I write my posts for Craigslist is please send me a sample or two of writing that you've done in the past. And I do post what I'm willing to pay on the actual ad for a couple reasons. I don't pay a lot, so that filters out anybody who really wants to get a good chunk of money for their writing. At the same time, those people have their place, and if they're good and if they can write you a piece of content that really draws people in, then it may be worth doing. But typically, you can start out. A lot of people do it per word. So if you're looking for, let's say, a 650 word article, which is probably my minimum. I mean, you could get away with 450 words, but really you need 650 words up to even, 1,500, 2,000 words, but that's pretty in-depth article. Average blog is, let's say, 650. So what a lot of people do, like I said, is pay per word. So 650 word article at 5 cents a word is going to cost you just over $30. So, if you put an ad out here and you get some submissions back, and you'll probably get quite a few because people are always looking for writing gigs, kind of go through them, see which ones are actually written fairly well. And then, send something back to those people and say, hey, I'd like you to write an article about blue widgets. Can you get that to me next week? And then see how they do. And if they don't do well, then, you're only out one article. But there are some really good diamonds in the rough on Craigslist, people that are just looking for extra work, maybe retired people that are in your industry, or maybe they were in your industry and have a lot of good knowledge about some things. So Craigslist is a great way to kind of start finding some different writers. My only other comment about Craigslist writers in particular is sometimes there is some turnover. My average Craigslist writer typically hangs around for about 6 months, sometimes longer. I've had one for 2.5 years now that continually writes for me every month. But a lot of these people are just looking for part-time stuff. So that's one thing about Craigslist is you're probably gonna have some extra people. You're gonna have to repeat this process, I guess I should say, over a little bit of time. So let me see if there's any questions or anything going on here, and make sure that I'm not missing anything. So all right, doesn't look like there's any questions. So let's press on. The next thing that a lot of people do to find writers is to use a service called BlogMutt. So, and there's actually a lot of these different kind of services out there. This is the one that I've used in the past, but like I said, there's a lot of them, content writing type stuff. And these are more expensive than your Craigslist stuff, but they're going to be a little bit better quality. Typically, they are quality controlled. There's also an editor that kind of pays attention to these. And so what you can do is you can go in here and say, I'm a business, I need a blog a week, and they'll give you the different pricing. So it really depends on what it is you're wanting and how often you're wanting that. So if I clicked on the business, here's the prices. So $89 a month for one post a week, which actually isn't too bad, $20 per post. However, those are fairly short blogs. I want to say these are only like 250 words per. Let me click get started and see if it'll tell me. I'm pretty sure that those are fairly short and probably are not what you want. Now they're trying to get me to log in. Yeah, darn it, I don't see it. But the difference between these is going to be how long the article is. So, this $169 a month is only still $20 a post, $19.50, but that's going to probably put you up in the 500, 600 word range, which is where you need to be. And that's actually really cheap for some decent content. So what they do is they actually write the content and they put it into your queue where you actually get to review the content before you accept or decline taking that one on. So if you accept it, of course, it's available for you to then copy paste, plug into your blog and start doing any editing, anything like that that you might want to do. And same thing for any of these others, but typically they're running a couple weeks ahead of whatever your schedule is. So if you needed some blogs up today or next week, this probably isn't going to work for you because they're not that fast. They'll start. If I say start writing today, it may be a week or two before you get your first post. So just so you're aware of that. But this is a great service. I've used this for several of my clients as well. Now, for Red Canoe Media, I actually don't use any of these services. So I don't use Blogma for my own website, and I don't use Craigslist writers. The reason for this is because particularly of the SEO industry is very technical and it's constantly changing daily almost. So there's a lot of people out there that might know a lot about SEO, but they might not be keeping up to it. So some of that information may not be current. I may find myself taking more time to edit a piece of content that's been submitted versus just writing one that I already know of. So that's something else to keep in mind is how technical your industry is. And, if it's building how-tos or maybe weight loss or something like that, that information hasn't changed a lot in years. There are some new things in every industry, obviously, but having that foundation is easy enough to get. So, oh, by the way, here's the 600 words. So 600 words, if you just want one a week of a 600 word one, then you're looking at 43 a post. 600 words at 2 a week, which is 8 per month, is $41 per post. So you can see the difference between that and Craigslist now. So you don't want to do these short 250 word ones. Really, that's not going to help you with your content at all. Okay. Next, let's jump over to something called FollowerWalk. So this is another way to find people who can write for you, possibly. And this takes a little bit of outreach, similar to Craigslist. And let's see, it's moz.com/followerwonk, WONK. And what you can do here is you can actually search through different people's Twitter biographies, their bios, and find something related to your industry. So if you were in weight loss, then what I would want to look for, I wouldn't want to just type in weight loss because that could be something that if I'm writing a Twitter profile, I might say, I'm interested in weight loss or losing weight or something like that. What I really want to do is I want to add the word blogger to it. Now it takes a little bit different turn because now these people are claiming themselves as weight loss bloggers in particular. So these are the kind of people that I need to try to get in front of, right? So what happens is it comes back and gives you some information of all these different people on Twitter and some information about them, their tweets, how many you're following, how many followers, how many days old, their social authority, different things like that. So this is basically 1 to 100 kind of deal. So what you can do is you can start to look at these. I typically go with the social authority first and find a fairly good number. So here's one that's 53, 2,000 days old. So years and years old, which is good. 57,000 followers. She's following 59,000 people, and she's tweeted over 36,000 times. So I'm interested. This might be somebody that that could write something for my weight loss blog. So I'm going to go check her out on the Twitter, right? And just see what kind of things she's actually posting. And we can see that she's talking, it looks like she's particularly interested in skincare type stuff, which is okay. She also has some things out here about eating well, things like that, which is just terrific. So this kind of person might be somebody that I could then follow and start to interact with on Twitter and bring up the idea of, hey, would you be interested in writing for me as well? So this is another great way to kind of trudge through people who have already claimed themselves as bloggers and find ones that are interested in things that you like or that are related to your industry, and then approach them and say, hey, would you be interested in doing a guest post on my site? Or would you be interested in being a contributor, regular contributor? Um, I can give you some exposure or I can pay you. Either way, it really depends on how much exposure they already have. So one thing about that particular girl is that she's probably got a decent amount of exposure already, nice social authority. But sometimes you can find somebody that doesn't have a lot of social authority, but is still writing really good stuff. And instead of paying them money, you can leverage them getting more exposure online as payment, if you will. So there are some different ways to find some people in here that is really cool for finding new ways of building content. And it may be that they don't want the exposure, they just want to get paid. If that's the case, then what I would do typically is say, okay, I will pay you, but I'm going to use my name as the author. And when you give me that document or that article, it becomes mine because I'm purchasing it, and it's not going to be referenced back to your business or your blog or your Twitter profile or anything like that. So a couple different ways to kind of handle that. Hopefully those help you a little bit as well. Next thing is I wanted to talk about another website called BuzzSumo, buzzsumo.com. And when that comes up, I'm going to grab a drink. All right, so BuzzSumo, what you can do here is you can type in whatever your industry is or some different keywords related to what you do and see what pieces of content are really getting a lot of attention. So in this case, I'm just going to type in weight loss. What it does is it actually goes through and looks for those words in the blog title or the content title for different things. So this is a great way to kind of get great information and great ideas about where you could potentially do some blogging of your own. So come up with topic ideas, things like that. So I can see that this one from Women's Health Magazine, how one woman lost nearly 100 pounds by making weight loss fun. I can see over here on the right that they had 5,000 Facebook shares, some LinkedIn shares, not many. It would make sense, not on LinkedIn, right? Twitter shares 689,000, nice. And then some, on Pinterest and Google Plus as well. Total shares 694,000 shares. That's nice. So is there something I could use? Maybe check out this article and see if there's something I could write similar to that would gain some attention. There's some other ones in here. There's 50 healthy low-calorie weight loss dinner recipes. Those are always great. The kind of a list article where you're just listing a bunch of things. This one's interesting. Wine as a bedtime snack helps with weight loss. That's a terrific one. It's kind of interesting. It intrigues people. So shareability of that is a little bit easier. Everybody likes the idea of drinking wine before they go to bed and losing weight at the same time. So BuzzSumo is a terrific place to find all kinds of cool content. You can also search over here by just things within the past week. You can do it by content type if you only want articles and you don't want to know about guest posts or infographics or giveaways. You can turn these off and get a little bit better idea of what's going on. The other really cool thing is you might notice that some things work better on some platforms than others. So winning the game of weight loss was a webinar about that. And you can tell that they only promoted it on Facebook. So really it got no other traction anywhere. They probably didn't promote it on Twitter because there were no shares or retweets or anything like that. And then here's one, honey and cinnamon for weight loss. And kind of just the opposite. You can see that really they didn't promote that anywhere except on Pinterest where it went crazy. So very interesting that you can see what kind of piece of content you can create and what channel seems like it would probably be the best way to share that. So another great way to find some really good content. All right. Next, I want to talk a little bit about scheduling your content. So we've got a bunch of ideas of places where you can actually find different pieces of content or have them written for you or created, anything like that. Next, what I want to talk about is scheduling those. So from a search engine standpoint, it's very important that if you start creating content, that you continually do it on a regular basis. So if you do something like the Blog Mutt, where you get 2 articles a week, or even 1 a week, which is 4 a month, you need to make sure that you're consistent with when you put those up. If you put them up on Tuesday, then always put them up on Tuesday. And in the case of Red Canoe Media, that's what we do. So every Tuesday morning, there's a new article going up. Some of my clients post every Monday and Thursday. Some of them do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It really depends on how much content you have coming in, how long it's going to take you to edit that and get it, the way you like it, those sort of things. But lots of ways to kind of do that, but you really need to be consistent with it. So I have a client, like I said, that publishes every Monday and Thursday, somewhere between 5 and 6 a.m. And typically that's always when I post my blogs on Red Canoe Media as well. And the reason for that is so that the search engines, first of all, I've taught the search engines that every Tuesday between 5 and 6, there's going to be a new piece of content. So they're actually smart enough now to know that around that time, there's going to be something come out that they can grab and index. So I'm teaching them how to grab that content. And if they're, let's say they've got it and they've indexed it by 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, that's plenty of time for my articles to start showing up in the index when people are getting to work, when people are getting to the office, when small business owners that I'm trying to attract are starting to check their various feeds, Facebook, anything like that. So that piece of content has already been indexed and is ready to share. So almost always for all my clients, we publish somewhere in the 5 to 6 a.m. range. And that doesn't mean I'm getting up then and publishing it. Obviously, I'm scheduling that ahead of time. So let's see. And then, okay, what we do is typically at the first of the month or the first week of the month. So let's say we're talking about January. First week of January, we're going to talk about what things are going on in February that we need to make sure are written about, that things that people will share and that people will want to promote, those sort of things. What kind of stuff is coming up? And then depending on how we're getting our pieces of content written, or if we're doing it ourselves, we start to go ahead and schedule those out. Typically what we're doing is we're just using Google Calendar. So first week of the month, we talk about what pieces of content are going to be coming out. And then Amber, who works for me, she starts to kind of schedule some of these things into her different calendar where they start to fit. So she has some different article posting and writer assignments. So this is what I'm talking about. The first week, she's going to have a conversation about what things do we do, who do we need to write those, what kind of things do we need, so that she can start to schedule February out in this case. And then, she puts in what blogs are going to show up when. Here's one for a site we do for Float, Missouri. So every week that particular thing goes out, and then she shares it on some different social networks, things of that sort. So I like to just use Google Calendar, and you can create multiple calendars. You can share them with other people, which is really cool. Easy to do as well. We'll talk a little bit later about a program called Buffer that actually has a social scheduling calendar in it as well, which is another option. But lots of different things, lots of different ways to help schedule the stuff. Just make sure that if you're doing it consistently, and that you're not, blasting a bunch of articles out one week and then none the next. That's not a good thing. All right. I also wanted to show you a trick that will actually help you get something indexed a little bit faster. So if the search engines are having a little bit of tough time getting your stuff indexed as fast as you would like them to, what you can actually do is we're going to go to Webmaster Tools. I'm just going to do it. Here we go, google.com/webmasters. And when that comes up, I'm going to sign in. And let's say that I just put up a new piece of content on my float site. We'll just use this as an example. So we'll go grab the newest piece of content that's out there, and I want to get this piece of content, into Google as fast as possible, so that it can start to show up on various feeds, things of that sort. So Missouri's little known fruit that predicts the winter forecast, which is a persimmons. So here we got floatmissouri.com/persimmons. So I'm going to grab that, everything after the domain, and I'm going to go over to my Webmaster Tools, and I'm going to log into the domain for that, floatmissouri.com. And let me do a search here, float. There we go. There's the one I want. This is the one that matches up with the actual HTTPS and the www. So I'm going to click on here. And then over on the left, I'm going to see a menu. And what I'm interested in right now is crawl and fetch as Google. So what I can do now is I can tell Google, hey, go crawl this URL or fetch this URL. And just make sure it comes back all right. And quite honestly, I know that it's going to be fine, but I'm just doing this because I want them to be aware that this URL exists. Okay, so there we go. Did it on the desktop, status complete. Now check this out. I got this button that says submit to index. So I can actually submit this to Google's index, which is pretty cool. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to crawl only this URL, or do I want to crawl this URL and its direct links? Now, you only get 10 of these per month. So typically what I do is I crawl just this URL. But I'm going to go ahead and crawl only this URL, hit the button. Now my URL has been submitted to the index. This typically gets my content into their index a little quicker than if they just have to discover it. Even though they know it's probably going to be posted on Tuesday between 5 and 6, I can give them this extra little push, and that helps get that content into Google a little quicker, which is always nice, right? So that's one really cool way to kind of get your content out there a little quicker, which is always nice. One other thing that I wanted to show you, which is really gaining popularity now, is LinkedIn Pulse. Now, this only works if it's something typically B2B, really, something related to business. Now, something like a weight loss article probably wouldn't work as well on LinkedIn because it's more of a business thing, but it's linkedin.com/pulse. And LinkedIn Pulse is basically an area where you can post a blog. Well, isn't that interesting? Here's one about dietary guidelines. So interestingly, it's been viewed 662 times since it was posted, which is today. 8 likes, 1 comment. So that's kind of funny that I was talking about weight loss and there's one there. So basically all you have to do is click publish a post, copy and paste your article into here, and you can add a picture, you can add links, all that good stuff in here, but you have the immediate LinkedIn audience. And this is a very popular thing, this LinkedIn Pulse. Lots of people look on this. I mean, you can see that this one that was just posted today already has over 650 views. So great way to get some traction for some of your articles, link back to your website, things like that. Now, the one thing I would say about LinkedIn Pulse is I wouldn't post something on my site. So I post every Tuesday morning. I won't put something out on LinkedIn Pulse until Wednesday or Thursday. And the reason is, the whole duplicate content thing that's floating around in there in space. We want to make sure that that our own domain, in my case, redcanoemedia.com, is in Google's eyes the author of that piece of content. So while I might still post this out here, what I don't want is, since I'm just doing a copy and paste, I don't want LinkedIn Post to get the credit for writing this article in the first place, if that makes sense. So I always wait, a day or two, and then post things out here, make sure that all the links work, make sure that that there's a really good high quality picture in there. And I think it will even actually let you put some information in here about yourself as well, what you do, where you are, some different links to things where you might write articles, things like that. And then it gives people a place to kind of start interacting with you. So LinkedIn Pulse is a great way to get more content out there that you might want to promote. Once again, if it's somehow business related. Now, I didn't read this article to find out if it really is business related, but it seems to be doing okay, whether it is or not. So that is it for section 1 of today's webinar, all about content. Now, I'm actually going to circle back around and talk about a couple more things related to the content that you create, especially on how to promote it on some social networks, things of that sort. So make sure you stick around for that as well, because there are some other things that I'm going to tell you about this exact same stuff. So stick around. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was email and list building and getting that content that you've created out in front of people that are already have already raised their hand and said they want to find out more about your content. So my absolute favorite email service provider is called ActiveCampaign. And what you can do is you can go to redcanoemedia.com/AC, redcanoemedia.com/AC, and that will actually take you to the ActiveCampaign page where you can find out more. They have a free trial, which is awesome. You can sign up. I think it's a 14-day free trial. And of course, I'm just going to go ahead and log in here, but you can see some different product tours, stuff like that. But I'm actually going to show you kind of behind the scenes what is going on in this site and why I particularly like this service provider. So I'm going to log in here, Red Canoe Media. And grab a drink while that's going. I'm going to be out of coffee before I know it. So, all right, here's kind of my dashboard in the back end. And typically what I look at first is I like to see what's going on. What has happened really, really lately, recent activity with some things that I've done. So sent out a newsletter a couple days ago, and I can see that I've had a couple click-throughs. I can find out more information about them. I can see that somebody subscribed and then immediately clicked through to something. So pretty cool. I can actually click on this person to find out a little bit more about what they did or how they found me, how they signed up, what they clicked on. And in this case, I can actually see a history of all the things that they've done in the past or that they've signed up for recently. So this particular person, Sue, recently, last thing she did was she clicked on a link to my webinar blog post that I wrote yesterday or Tuesday. So she clicked on that, probably in the newsletter thing that I sent out, what I call a campaign. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. So I can actually see that that person is interacting with some of the different things that I'm doing. So kind of cool just to see what's going on. And then what I want to do is I kind of want to go across the top here and show you some of these different buttons and some of the things that you can do. And then the really cool one, which is automations, which we'll tackle last. So contacts, this is where you would keep all your contacts. So ActiveCampaign is kind of like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber. So if you have any of those, type of services. This is very similar to that, but it has a couple extra bonuses that are really cool. So here's my contacts. If I want to import them from, let's say, Constant Contact, I can go here and there's lots of different ways I can hook up my stuff to get that, or I can just import it from a file. However I want to get those contacts in. Typically in Constant Contact, there's some sort of an export button. You can export that to a CSV file, and then you can just import that right into here. So that part of it is really seamless. If it's your first time doing it, then they're actually going to want to know, where did you get this list? So you would just say, was on Constant Contact, now moving over to AC or something like that. So haven't seen any trouble with it. They do want to know where that initial list came from. So you can do a search for different people. So let's search for Don, who is I think he's probably on the call today. And so I can actually click on his name. And the really cool thing about ActiveCampaign is I can start to tag people based on different interactions that they've had with my business, my newsletter, a webinar, something like that. So over here on the left, we can actually see some different tags that I've added to Don's contact profile here. So he's a Red Canoe Elite member. He took a webinar, another webinar, ran an audit on his site. So he's done a lot of things related to my business that I can actually see that, what he's done. So what I could do, why are these tags important? Let's say that this coaching webinar, there are other people that have taken webinars in the past. I'm going to go back to contacts here, that maybe weren't aware about this particular Success Toolkit webinar we're on today. So I can actually filter people by the tag or the keyword of webinar. Now what I could do is I could actually build what's called a segment and email people that have one of these tags in their contact list and say, hey, you took a webinar from us recently. You might be interested in the Success Toolkit webinar as well. So kind of cool way to start to tag people for different things. If you want to send a list only to like the elite people that are Red Canoe Elite members, which is our membership area, I could just send those people an email, and I don't have to have all these separate lists and stuff to keep track of. And in this case, I just have one list, and then I've tagged everybody depending on what actions they've taken, things of that sort. So very cool way to kind of see different things related to the people that are interacting with you in your business. All right, campaigns and automations, I'm going to come back to. Lists is basically all of the lists. Now, most businesses are only going to have one list. Now, in my case, I run a couple other websites. So I run Float Missouri, I run one called Swim STL. So I keep a couple different lists in mind, but for the most part, Red Canoe Media is the one where I'm the most interested in growing that list over time and keeping people very interactive with it as well. And then what I can do is under integrations, I can actually build different forms, which you've probably seen a lot of this in Constant Contact, things like that. But you can build a form specifically for each different thing. So if you have a newsletter sign up or some sort of sign up on your website, you would build a form, put that particular form, get the code for that, click integrate with your site, get that code, put that code on your page. There's a couple different ways to do it. And then that way, that those people came in specifically from clicking on that form. So for instance, you're on this webinar today, you filled out a form to get onto this webinar. So you were actually tagged in my system as somebody who was attending the 2016 Success Toolkit webinar. And now what I could do, you filled out a specific form on that site, which is really cool. So now I can actually track those people individually, or I could, reach out to them or anything like that. for instance, for the follow-up video, I can follow up with the video and say, hey, here's the video if you want to go back and watch anything, and if I want to make any other links, give any links, anything like that, I can do that as well. So lots of really cool things that you can do with that. Under apps, there are a lot of apps. I think you probably already saw a bunch of them. There's a lot of things that you can interface with ActiveCampaign. I have one client who runs Woo. Actually, I've got a couple that run WooCommerce. So what they do is every time that these are e-commerce type websites. So every time that they click that an item has shipped, we actually set up something that says when that happens, WooCommerce will tell ActiveCampaign that that has happened, and then we will send them an email saying, hey, your item is shipped. Don't forget to leave us a review. And I'll show you that in this automation tab in a couple minutes, but there's a lot of things that you can interact or connect with ActiveCampaign, which is a very cool option. And then last on this, I'll go back to these other two. There are reports, so you can run different reports about different things, how many opens, how many clicks on all the different things you sent, who opened, who clicked. Do you want to know more about those particular people? So some pretty cool stuff there as far as that. So let's talk a little bit more about the automations tab. This is where ActiveCampaign really sets themselves apart from some of the others. Now, MailChimp has come out and started to build some automation type stuff into their system. It seems pretty cool. Not as friendly as this yet. I think they might catch up. They're very popular. So what I wanted to show you here is the 2015 end of year survey. So this is something I sent out right around the end of the year. And anybody who filled out that survey, at the end of that survey, it was 3 questions. They got a form on that last page. Hey, thanks for filling out this survey. I have a free checklist for you if you want it. And it was free. So what I did is I built a form specifically for that checklist. So if that person filled out that form, I built an automation to do some things behind the scenes. First of all, send them an immediate email, of course, that says, hey, here's your checklist you asked for. I hope I can help you out. Have a great day. It's just the checklist delivery that I promised. The next thing that I do is I immediately add a tag to that particular contact, 2016 checklist. So if I want to go back and find those people that filled that out, I can email them. I can do other things with them. But now they're tagged. Then what I do is I wait for 1 day, and then I send them a follow-up group coaching reminder, which you probably saw. And basically it said, hey, saw you got the checklist. Don't forget about the group coaching call that we're getting ready to do as well. And then I end that automation. So kind of cool. It's that these people are immediately put into my newsletter system so that they'll get all the follow-up newsletters. But I also wanted to make sure that I ran this automation to, first of all, provide what I told them I was going to provide. And then secondly, run a little reminder a day later. So we talked earlier about the WooCommerce. So in that situation, we have a funnel. It's under a different account, so I can't show you. But what they do is when my client clicks that an item was shipped, the first thing we do is we tag that person with whatever that SKU number of that particular product was. So if sometime later on we want to come back and just email the people that bought a certain item, we can do that. The next thing we do is we wait 1 day. So we don't send them an immediate email. The WooCommerce system sends them an immediate email saying, hey, here's your tracking information, that kind of stuff. What we do is the next day, we send them an email that says, hey, your stuff was shipped yesterday. Here's some really important information about your product when you get it. Here's how to assemble it. Here's a video. Here's a PDF with the assembly instructions, whatever it might be. I have a client who sells one-of-a-kind knives. So we would send them a follow-up that says, hey, here's how you take care of it. Don't put it in the dishwasher, that kind of stuff. So that 1 day reminder is really cool because that kind of reminds people that something's coming. Then what we do is we just set it to wait 14 days or 10 days, somewhere in that range. And then we follow up and say, hey, you should have got your product by now. We really hope you enjoy it. If there's any questions, here's how you contact us. And by the way, if you really like this product, please come back and leave us a review. We'll put a link in there to their website, put a link in there to their Facebook page, to their Yelp profile, to whatever different sites where people can come back and leave a review. So this is one thing that a lot of business owners struggle with, is getting those reviews, and they're fairly important in the overall rankings. So getting those reviews, getting those positive reviews, I should say, are a difficult thing to get done. Now, negative reviews, yeah, they're a lot easier, aren't they? You screw up and you can fairly easily get some negative reviews from people. So getting those reviews that are positive are something that a lot of people want. So I'm going to jump over here and see if there's any questions. Don't see any questions right now. Okay, good. So let's press on. The other automation series I wanted to show you is what I call my indoctrination series. So when somebody new that maybe is, a cold client, or they came in from my website and signed up for my newsletter or something, they've really never been exposed to my business in the past, or they've never signed up for anything. The first thing I do is I set them up with what I call an indoctrination series. And it's 3 or 4 emails. I think it's 4 total in this case. And they're just introduction type stuff, really. And at some point, you probably received these emails. So the first one is purely an introduction. Hey, my name is Will Hankey. I run this business called Red Canoe Media. Here's some things we do. I really hope that I can help you grow your business, that kind of thing. Then I wait for one day. Then I send them a second email, which I call the bonding series. So it gives them some cool things that they can do with their website immediately, encourages them, gives them good feelings about my business. Then I wait a day. I send out a third email about some different things that they can do with their business, or something related to, obviously, to digital marketing. Then what I do is I wait 5 days, and then I send out a how can I help email. So basically this email says, hey, it's been a week since you signed up. Hopefully you've learned some things already. Is there anything I can do to help you? And it's a great email. It gets, people reply to that a lot, and they don't realize it's automated, but it is. And they reply, yeah, I'm really having trouble with blah, blah, blah. Well, that gives me a terrific, signal that I need to follow up with that person in more detail. So very cool little automation series there. It's pretty simple. There are other things I could do. I could tag those people. I could send them, I could do an if else. Have they clicked on this thing? If so, show them this. If they didn't click on it, show them this. I could start other automation series. Lots of different things that I can do inside of ActiveCampaign, which this is probably one of the coolest things that sets them apart from some of the other services. So the last tab here is the campaigns. So this is where emails are written. So when I go to write a new email, typically called a newsletter, this is where I would do that. And so this is the newsletter I sent out the other day. And since it's already been sent, it sends me to the report page, and I can see how many people opened it. I can see that hardly anybody clicked on anything. Only 3 people clicked on this out of all the opens. Out of, let's see, 71 totally unique people opened it. Only 3 people clicked on it. So that's pretty bad. That's a 1% click-through rate. So I can see that, okay, that was not a very popular subject. That's okay. That happens sometimes. And then I can get some more information. Here's what my article looks like. Here's the different things that I linked in it as well. But what I can do in here is one of the cool things. Let me go back to campaigns. And there is a setting when I go to send this out where I can actually turn on Google Analytics. So I can tie my Google Analytics to each different send out. So if I pull up my analytics here, what I can do then is I can see which newsletters did well. I can even tie them to a number as far as the monetary value. I can do a lot of different things with the data that comes in. So if I click over here to Google Analytics, I'm going to go down to acquisition, all traffic, and then source. So I want to see all my traffic by what source are they coming in. And right here, number 4 is ActiveCampaign/email. So now I can see that out of all the traffic I received, here's the ActiveCampaign traffic. And obviously these are always on Tuesdays because that's when I send my newsletters out, right? So I can see that 76 people in the last 30 days have visited my site. They averaged 3.2 pages per session for an average time of 4 minutes on my website. That's pretty cool. What I can even do is click here to secondary dimension and then type in CAM campaign. And now it will actually separate it out for me by campaign name. So I can see which of the different things is actually getting people to click through. So I can see here's my indoctrination series. Some people are clicking on that. Here's a Christmas promo I did a while back that had 16 people come to the website. They looked at almost 5 pages per session for an average time over 16 people of 7 minutes on my site. So this is terrific. This tells me that this campaign did very well as far as getting exposure to my business. And all of this is tied back to the campaigns that I run inside of ActiveCampaign. So the last thing I wanted to show you, and this is a cool trick that I learned a while back, is this, the one that I sent out recently. What I can do is I can actually go up here to the top right and do resend options. So I can actually resend this exact same email to a segment of people. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, out of all the people that are subscribed to this, only a certain portion of those open. We can see 26.2 people, 26.2%, sorry, of the people actually opened that email. So what I could do is I could actually just send this list again, this exact same email, nothing changed, to contacts who have not read or opened this campaign. And I do that typically on Fridays. So if I send my newsletter out on Tuesday, I come back and I do a resend on Friday to people that did not open the one I sent out on Tuesday. Maybe they don't look at their email on Tuesday, or maybe something else was going on that day. So I'll hit them again on Friday, and maybe I'll get a second chance at opening those. Now, typically the open rates on those are slower or lower because some people are just disengaged and don't want to, open those things. But, that's a pretty cool little thing that you can do, is just do a resend, send that back out, recycle that information again. You don't have to worry about changing the content or anything, because since they never opened it on Tuesday, it's not like they're going to see the same thing again. So very cool little thing there. So in order to get to ActiveCampaign, once again, it's just redcanoemedia.com/AC, which obviously stands for ActiveCampaign. So that's how you would how to get to that service to sign up. They have a 14-day free trial, and the pricing there on out is actually really cheap. So it's comparable to something like MailChimp and all of those. So they also have a built-in CRM, which we really didn't go into a whole lot, but they do have the opportunity where you can do some custom branding, do some text marketing, things like that, some pretty cool stuff. But if you just want to use it for the stuff that I showed you today, then you just figure out how many contacts do I have. So you pay by how big your list is. And you say, well, I've got 15 people on my list. So it looks like I'm going to have to start at the $2,500 level, which $2,500 contact level, which is $29 a month. So if you just have a small list, or you just want to try it out, up to 500 contacts for $9 a month. So you can try out and you'll have all the features I just showed you today for that, just that $9 a month. So definitely worth checking out. You can actually save some money if you just pay annually as well, 15%. Very nice. Love ActiveCampaign. Have a lot of people that use it. So let me close that window. And there is my granddaughter. Beautiful. Let me open up a window here. And what I want to do now is I want to switch over to talk about some social media type stuff. A couple different tools that we use to promote Red Canoe Media, and that maybe you're aware of, maybe you're not. Two that I think are really cool tools, and we'll get into those right now. So the first one is buffer.com. So I'm going to log out here so you can actually see the homepage, and then we'll log back in and I'll show you what it does. So buffer.com, here we go. I think this one costs, I think there's actually a free version of this. Yes, there's a free version of this. You can only schedule up to 10 posts at a time, which you'll find is great for free. However, you'll see in a minute what I'm doing with this, but if you're running 2 posts a day to your various social profiles, then every 4.5 days you have to come back in and kind of regroup. So I use this awesome program, which is only $10 a month, and has a free trial. Let's see, try it free for 7 days. So great little thing. So let me log in and I'll show you exactly what Buffer does. All right, that is not correct. This is correct. Oh, why do they have that create account button as blue? That's kind of crazy. Oh, well, it put me in the right place anyway. So here's the dashboard. First thing I would do in Buffer is I set up my different profiles. So I have my Red Canoe Media Facebook page. We have a Twitter account. We have a LinkedIn page. So similar to the Facebook page, there's actually a LinkedIn page we have for our business. Google Plus page, another popular one. And then my personal LinkedIn profile. So these are the 5 that I set up. Depending on what industry you're in, you may be more interested in something like Pinterest. You know, we saw earlier with the FollowerWalk or BuzzSumo, sorry, that some people are having really good luck with Pinterest if it's a more visual kind of thing. So you can connect the different profiles in here. You just click the button. It asks you if you want to connect. You say yes, and then you're done. Once your profiles are all connected, then what you can do is you can start to build up your queue. And basically what it does is Buffer goes out and looks at your different things that you've set up and finds out what times of day are most people interacting with your stuff, or most interacting in general if you've never published on that particular platform. So then they pick 2 times. So for me, on LinkedIn, they picked 11:08 a.m. and 6:29 p.m. Now, I can change these times if I don't want those 2 to be the times of day that this publishes. I can change those. So now they're different as well. So if I go look at my Red Canoe Media Facebook page, they've decided that 10:36 and 2:49 are the best times to share things. So it's different across each different platform. And what they do is you load up your queue with potential things that you want to share. And then across all these platforms, it will share that information out at various times in your name, and it will look like your content. Very cool. So the other cool thing is it gives you some analytics about who clicked on what. You know, this one got a reach of 17. Sometimes there's some in here that got some likes. This one reached a lot of people. People clicked on it, you know, so they shared it, things of that sort. So some really cool analytics in here across the different platforms. Once again, you can see that, yeah, my Facebook stuff's doing okay. My Twitter stuff, not doing so great, you know, or maybe it's doing really well. I might want to promote, you know, some things on Twitter a little bit more. So this is similar to Hootsuite. I guess you could say a lot of people are familiar with Hootsuite. and the scheduling things that it lets you do. But it's kind of cool that it randomly picks the times for you. It lets you build up your queue. And then the other really cool thing about Buffer is that it has a Chrome extension. So if you're using Chrome, it puts this little button up here, which is pretty cool. So if I come across a piece of content, I know that there was a guy recently that actually went to prison, an SEO person, for extortion. So what I could actually do is I might go out here and let's see, I'll just click on this first one. And I like this article, pretty cool. What I can do is I can click on Buffer if I want to share this with my audience, and it will pop up a little screen here, and it'll say this is what it'll look like on Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Plus, and my regular LinkedIn profile. And then on Facebook, I can put an extra message in here. Holy cow. Something like that. And what I can do is I can either just add it to my queue at the end of the queue. I could share it next. So depending on what network, whatever the next time available is, or I could force it to go immediately to all of those different networks, or I could schedule it. So if I did schedule it, then I could pick, the particular day I wanted it to go out, things like that, which is kind of cool. And then I can pick what time I want it to do, all that kind of good stuff. So really cool way to kind of share stuff on Buffer, and it just basically ends it to the end of your queue. So back to when we were talking about scheduling in our own content. So what we do is at the first of the month or that first week, we'll come in here and we know that Buffer is posting twice a day to all of these different networks. So that means over the course of 31 days, I'm going to need at least 62 pieces of content. So typically what we do is we'll pick out about 50, 55 pieces of content through, let's say that BuzzSumo. So I could type something into there, find some really cool stuff, add that all to my Buffer. That might take me an hour to find all of those, maybe two. Add those in. So now I've got 50 something pieces of content. Then what I'll do is I'll go to my own website, redcanoemedia.com, and I'll buffer the last, let's say 8 or 10 posts that I've written, or some posts that I know are very popular, or pages that I think are really good on my site that I'd like to share. Now, since we're building all this into a queue, right, everything's just going to be in order. And basically what's going to happen is all this stuff is going to share out. And then the last 5 days, it's going to be all my stuff. That's not what I want. So the last thing that you can do in here is you can actually go into each of these different things and shuffle the content that is in here, so that it basically just shuffles everything in your system. So that's kind of cool. I'm not sure where the shuffle button is. I'm on the wrong thing. I was looking at analytics. So if I'm on my Twitter account and I have 62 pieces of content ready for the next month, then what I can do is I can shuffle these. Are you sure? Yes. Now what it does is it disperses my 10 blogs within the middle of all this other stuff. So every couple days, one of my pieces of content will be showing up along with all these other people's stuff as well. So that is definitely pretty cool little thing that I just love about Buffer. And it's a great way to provide content on all the different social networks, and at the same time promote some of your stuff as well. All right. Next, Sniply. So this is a service I discovered just recently, and it's a little tough to explain, but I'm gonna do my best to explain it to you. As far as cost, I want to say this one is around $10 a month, and it's terribly cheap. I think there's even a free trial or a free version, but I'm going to go ahead and log in to what they call the dashboard and attempt to explain this to you. So that same article here that we talked about, this guy that got sentenced to prison. So if I used Buffer, people would see that, they would click it, and they would come here and they would read this post. Okay. What I can do with Sniply is I can snip that article. I copy that article, paste it in here, create snip. And then what I get to do is I can actually create an overlay on this website that has something to do with my business. And it just shows up down here at the bottom. It has my logo and it has blah, blah, blah about my business. And, you know, whatever that interaction is or whatever that call to action is shows up when they go to visit this article. My stuff shows up on that page. So pretty cool little thing. If I'm sharing that on my Facebook page and people see Red Canoe Media shared this article, they click on it, then they see this down at the bottom. I'm kind of recycling that person or giving them another opportunity to engage with me or do something else with me as well, which is a pretty cool little thing. So in this case, I've built a couple different calls to actions. So let's close this. And in Sniply, what I've done is I've built a couple different calls to actions. Okay, so currently we have 3 different ones running. We have the one we just saw, which is educate yourself about marketing your business. Okay, and then it has a box, enter your email, right? So person can see that, they can pop in their email, hit the button, and that immediately subscribes them to my newsletter. So kind of cool, right? The next thing I did is I created just a download now button. So there's no email required or anything like that. And this one says download our free 2016 marketing success checklist. So that just has a download now button. They click that, they're immediately put into that ActiveCampaign automation related to the 2016 checklist. So it adds them to my group. It adds them, it obviously delivers that success checklist to them. You know, we saw that a little bit earlier, that exact funnel. So that was pretty cool. And then I have one more that's do you know your SEO score. Actually, it's the same as this as far as what kind it is. You know, it's just basically a button that you can create. But there are some other. I'll do a new call to action, and then we'll show you. So select my brand, Red Canoe. Then what kind of a call to action do I want? Do I want it to be a button, which we saw? Do I just want it to be a text link? Blah, 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 click here. That's kind of cool. Let me go back to type here. Do I want it to be a form, which is what we saw earlier? You know, do some action, put your email in right here. There's an image ad, which is locked because of the level that I'm using Sniply at. And then, of course, there's just a hidden tag if you just want to track people across to other websites. So typically, it's one of these couple, first ones here. I don't use the text link currently. I do use the button and I do use the form. But you just build out a couple different text links or couple different calls to action. Then, depending on what the content is that you're sharing, you match that call to action up to something that's similar to that, and you're able to share that information out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this URL once again, and I'm going to snip it. Now, I mentioned earlier about the buffer has that little button there. Sniply actually also has one. So I can actually just use this button straight from this article. I don't have to copy this. So this is really where it gets really cool and kind of automated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this article, okay? And let's see, it's about a guy that got sentenced to 37 months in prison. So I'm probably going to use my do you know your SEO score, right? That probably makes kind of sense because somebody reading this article might want to know their own score. So all I have to do is select that call to action. If I want to change the text, I can, but I don't have to because I've already plugged this stuff in. Then I'm going to hit snip. Now Sniply creates its own little cute little link here that I could share. Or check this out, buffer's already in here, right? So I don't have to worry about these other buttons, all these Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, because all that stuff is inside my buffer account. So I can do is I can then just click buffer and add it to buffer with the Sniply link. So when somebody gets this particular thing, they're going to get that little pop-up at the bottom that says, do you know your SEO score? So I can say, wow, or whatever. And then same buttons, add to queue, share next, whatever. I'll do share next. It adds it to my buffer with the Sniply call to action on it. And then it says finished. So this little tool is very cool to set up some things. So when you're doing your monthly list of things, instead of going straight to buffer and putting them in here, if it makes sense that you have a call to action related to whatever that topic is, then use the Sniply button and then combine that with the buffer button, and you'll end up kind of doing two things at once. And of course, there's analytics, so you can see which of these have done well, which ones have not. You can have a couple different brands, so whether you want to share things as yourself or as your company, and give some decent little conversion rates in here, and how many people clicked on this, what it was, do you want to redo it, do you want to change your call to action the second time through, that kind of stuff. So very, very cool little tool. And all that's really involved is setting up your calls to actions first, so that you can then share those across the different things. Okay. All right. That's it for social, kind of, sorta. The next thing I wanted to show you was a plugin that I use on the Red Canoe site. And I use this on a lot of my client sites too. So in the past, if you've attended any other webinar that I've done, or you've been on my site, or you've heard me speak, I'm always talking about something called a lead magnet. Creating something that people want in exchange, so you give them value in exchange for their email address. So the one that we've kind of been talking about all day is, let me click on blog here, is the 2016 success checklist, right? So on any internal page on my website, you'll see that over here, I've got a call to action. It's ready, download the checklist. If I click on that, it sets me to a page that's basically a landing page that, guess what, has an ActiveCampaign form tied to it, so that when they submit this, it puts them into that particular automation series, right? So in the back end, now, excuse me, this particular call to action on the right-hand side is something I created in Photoshop. However, I could use a plugin to do it as well. And as a matter of fact, if you start reading through one of these different blogs, you'll see that right in the middle of the blog, all of a sudden, there's some sort of oh, that's a bad example because that's a guest blog, so I don't do that to them. But let me find one of my other blogs, how to kill your website traffic. Everybody wants to know that, right? So here's the article. This one has a video in it. And then right in the middle of the article, what's your SEO score? So people can actually click that, get their SEO score, which of course dumps them into ActiveCampaign, which with an automation series of some sort tied to that, giving them that printable PDF, all that stuff we saw earlier. But this little box is created by a plugin called WP Conversion Boxes. And in this case, I have the pro version, which I think is $29 a year, something like that. It's not very expensive. But what it does is it lets you create those different calls to actions that you can put in the middle of your blog. And it gives you, different stats, how often that one is clicked, how often people see it. So this blogging checklist that I have is an 18.49 conversion rate. So 18.5% of the people that see it click through that particular one, which is a really big number. I've added a couple new ones in the last couple of days, but it lets you create these different conversion boxes like we see right here to do different things. Now, there's a lot of different designs you can do. I'll just add a new one to kind of show you what you can do. We'll just call this test. So when that comes up, you'll see that there's a bunch of different designs, different looks and feels, things. So what do I want to do? Well, I want people to just have a call to action box, or I can do it with a video if I want, or just an email opt-in. Let's say I want to do the call to action box. Then I can select the template, and you can actually just kind of go through these and see what they look like. So there's one that has a button and some sort of a graphic next to it. Here's one called clean call to action, big heading with arrow and image. That was kind of cool. It's got more of a white background. Put your picture there, put some blah, blah, blah with the learn more button. Simple price box if you want to actually do something that has a price related to it or a product. I think you can actually do, let's see, simple price box with a picture of whatever, in this case, a real unicorn horn. But whatever it is, let's see, here's the red one that you saw, just a headline and a box. But then you can actually go in and change the background color here. You can change the color of the button. Actually, I'll just hit save and next, and I'll show you. You can change the content. You can change the font. You can change pretty much anything you want to change. So if I want to change the heading background to that, I can do so. I can change the text. Click here, or whatever sort of headline you want. You can change the different kind of font. So we'll do Comic Sans, which is horrible, right? Change where you want that to be, obviously probably center or left. Then here's your content. So this is the stuff in the middle here. This is where you would put some sort of a thing. You really need this, blah, 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 or are you suffering from, or whatever that particular information is there. You can change the color of the font, all that good stuff again. Same thing for the button. I like my button to be purple. I can do that. I can change the size of the font inside the button. Where, if somebody clicks on this button, where is it going to go? Probably need that. Do I need to open that in a new tab? Lots of really cool stuff here. Do I want to put any extra little spacing around it? Things of that sort. When I'm done with that, I click save. And then once it redirects here, there's a couple other questions. Do I want it to fade in and out? No. Do I want to make it sticky? Which I tried for a while. Basically, when you're scrolling up the page, when it hits the top of the page, it sticks to the top of the page and the content below it keeps scrolling. Tried that for a while and found out that it was somewhat annoying, so I turned it off. There's also a slide in from the left or right, how fast you want it to slide in, those sort of things. But I'm just going to save it and publish it as it is. And then I have this little code here that I'm going to copy. So WPCB, which is WordPress conversion boxes, ID equals 9. I'm going to go ahead and publish that. Done. Now, if I go to any of my posts, in particular, ones that maybe I've done in the past, and let's see, here's one that I have as a draft for next Tuesday that I'm going to be promoting. If this were about whatever this call to action I built, what I can do is halfway through, let's say a little bit over halfway, I'm going to add this and I'm going to paste that in there. That's all I have to put in there is that little, what's called short code. And that will create that box that I created, automatically put it into my blog right there. So then I can go back over here to my conversion boxes, and I can start to see how is that particular one working overall. Obviously, it's all zeros now. But as time goes on, I could start to see if people are interacting with it, how well they're interacting with it. Was it, like these two, 0% click-through rate. So even though some people have seen it, they're not necessarily clicking through. So the message is not that strong, or something's wrong with it. So very cool little plugin, WordPress conversion boxes. I think they've actually renamed it now. Let's go over to plugins and see if we can find. I think they actually call it WP opt-in now, which is a newer version. Same exact thing. They've got a little bit more stuff. I just haven't had time to upgrade it. Let's see, WP conversion boxes, visit plugin site. Yeah, I think when you go to this WP conversion box, yeah, WP conversion boxes is now WP opt-in boxes. There we go. So same kind of thing. They've just rebranded for whatever reason. But then you can sign up, get some different things. Of course, this one expires in an hour and a half. Don't necessarily believe that. Well, he started talking to me. But anyway, there you go. That's kind of a really cool little plugin that I use quite often. So hopefully you've learned some things today from the webinar. We've gone a little bit over our hour. We're at an hour, 20 minutes, but I really wanted to make sure that you get some really good information today of all the different tools that we're using currently to kind of promote um, Red Canoe Media. I did want to show you just a couple things real quick. I mentioned earlier in there about the 60% off of the all those how-to videos. So I wanted to make sure that I showed that to you and that you could see all of the different tools that we use, some, all these different things, so that you can make some more money from your business, which obviously everybody wants to do. And that is called Red Canoe Elite. You've probably heard me reference that in the webinar today already. And what that is an area inside of redcanoemedia.com where it's a membership area, and you can actually get all kinds of videos, over 100 how-to videos on how to do a lot of different things. There are full courses. There's over 40 videos on how to do WordPress SEO, how every single thing step by step. Click here, do this, update this. We also do private coaching calls every other week. So if you have any trouble with anything, you can ask us, how do I do this? And we'll have a private coaching call just for the members to go through those things. Or it might be a coaching call where we're showing you some new tools that we use. We also do critiques on different newsletters and different web pages and landing pages and things of that sort. So there's a whole bunch of things in here. There's also a complete set of different tutorials, different things about SEO. There's, like I said, some complete courses. There's actually more than this now since I took this screenshot. There's also a private Facebook group where people that are having trouble with this certain thing, people can just post in there and we'll answer that, answer that for them. Can you guys help me with this? How do I do it? Other people will jump in and say, here's some ideas. There are all kinds of really cool things in the back of this membership area. Lots of things answered. If you have any questions with anything, you get unlimited access, and of course, all the similar-minded business owners that are trying to do the same thing as you. Now, typically this costs $47 a month, so it's not typically something that's necessarily overly expensive, but it's a little bit of an investment to you. But for today and tomorrow, what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to have this get into Red Canoe Elite at a locked-in price of over 60% off. And the way that you do that is just go to redcanoemedia.com/toolkit. So today we talked about all the different tools, all the things that we're doing at the current moment to promote our site. And we're actually going to take all of these different things we talked about today, and we've already started building different tutorials in the back end of Red Canoe Elite for each of these tools in a little bit more in depth, with some more ideas and some more different ways to use these tools. So very, very cool system in the back end of this as well. Also, I recently published a book called Defeating an Internet Boogeyman, which I will happily email, or I'm sorry, not email. I will mail you the physical version of the book as a free bonus just for signing up. So what you need to do is just visit redcanoemedia.com/toolkit, and this will get you the page that has the 60% off. Now, if you just go to redcanoemedia.com/elite, you're going to have the regular price. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you use the 60% off link, which is /toolkit. So make sure that you grab that and get into that particular thing. So that is the end of the webinar, hour and a half almost. So lots of great tools. Like I said, I will be sending out the replay within a little bit amount of time, depending on how quickly we can get it rendered, all that kind of stuff. But you'll get it shortly. And I really appreciate everybody jumping on the call today. We went through a ton of stuff, and I hope that you were able to maybe implement some of these things over the next coming weeks. And hopefully we can see you inside the Red Canoe Elite area as well. So have a great day. Take care.